G'day, this is Jim from Living Life Now. Today we'll be chatting about the Port of Liverpool. We've just left there last night and now we're heading on our way to Dover. And we had a pretty good time. Liverpool's a great place to self-explore. The cruise ship docks right in Liverpool centre. It's just a hop, skip and a jump into the Liverpool city and the historic waterfront. In this video I'll share with you what we got up to in our day in port, and hopefully you'll pick up a few tips if you're planning a visit there in the future. The first interesting thing about the Liverpool port is that it's macro-tidal. The Mersey River can swing up to 10 metres in springtime. When we were there we experienced a 6.8 metre tide, and because of this tide the ship berths on a platoon and is connected to the terminal by a tunnel ramp. Now if it's low tide like when we arrived, you can expect a fairly steep hike up this ramp. Once at the top of the ramp, you pass the friendly princess photographers before entering the cruise terminal, which is like a hangar cross tent. It was opened in 2007, and Liverpool is currently building a new permanent cruise facility, which will eventually be a 2-storey terminal building, hotel, and improved embarkation system. Now here's the best bit. Once you exit the cruise terminal, you're already at Pier Head, home of Liverpool's famous Three Graces buildings, a UNESCO World Heritage listed site. You're a 10-minute walk to the Beatles cave-in quarter. You're a 10-minute walk to Liverpool One shopping area. You're a 10-minute walk to Albert Dock and the Beatles stories and the Maritime Museum. And you're a 10-minute walk to the railway station if you want to explore further afield. Taxi ranks are there, hop-on, hop-off buses are close by. We teamed up with some friends of ours, Anne and Phil, from the ship and decided to self-explore. It was still fairly early, so not a lot was open. We found a coffee shop opposite the railway station and had what was possibly the worst coffee in 7 continents. Served by a very pleasant lady behind the counter, but the coffee was shocking. Although, credit where credit is due, the sausage rolls were awesome. Once fueled up with something resembling coffee, we wandered the streets and we found it quite enjoyable taking in the neoclassical architecture and the 19th century buildings. That reflects a period where Liverpool was one of the world's richest cities, built on trade, shipping and immigration. Linda wanted to go to Marks and Spencer, as did Phil. Tracked one down on Google Maps and in we went. No surprise that 3 minutes later, Phil and I were back on the streets having a little wander around, whilst the girls were in their happy place. Just nearby Marks and Spencer was the Beatles Quarter. Now the Beatles Quarter is a definitely must-do in this port. It's got the iconic Cave and Club, it's got a lot of historic Beatles stuff, and it's just worth your time wandering around that block and a few of those alleys to just take it in and stick to the floor about all the spillage of the pubs and everything. But when we walked through there, the pubs weren't open, which wasn't a bad thing. It was a bit quieter and we could actually take it in. There's no shortage of Beatles memorabilia or places to find a drink and a feed around the Beatles Quarter. The waterfront is also definitely interesting. There's no shortage of coffee shops and places to eat as you wander through there. The waterfront stretches along the River Mersey, centred around Pier Head and the Royal Albert Dock. The Royal Albert Dock is a beautifully restored 19th century dock complex with brick warehouses, and it houses the Beatles Story Museum, the Tate Liverpool Art Gallery, Maritime Museum, and as previously stated, cafes, restaurants and boutique shops. Oho buses and the ferry terminal is also in this area. It's certainly a lot to see in this area with sculptures and just interesting things all over the place. We did a little bit of shopping, had some coffee and decided what we were going to do next. We went up the Liverpool Eye, which offered some great views over Liverpool. Phil and I were keen for a steak and the girls wanted a pub lunch, so we googled up the best place in town to do that. And we came up with the Railway Hotel for a feed and the Lion for some cask beer. And we were pretty happy to find out that these places are next door neighbours, right next to each other. The Railway Hotel ended up a great choice. It really gave us that authentic, traditional pub experience. The pub offered a great selection of ales and it had a friendly atmosphere with friendly staff. The meals were great value, hearty pub meals, and for a steak, egg and chips, it was only 10 quid. Apparently the place gets packed out on a Sunday as they have a special roast deal. And when we were there, they were out of some wines because the pub was nearly drunk dry on the Sunday. So if you ever find yourself cruising to Liverpool and enjoy a traditional English pub, I can highly recommend the Railway Hotel. But being the explorers that we are, we decided to walk the 10 metres next door to the Lion. It was early afternoon and we were the only people at the Lion. But that suited us fine. We settled into a corner table with a magnificent view. We had a friendly local barmaid who shared her knowledge of Liverpool. We were surprised to hear that she'd never been out of Liverpool. And this young lady's friendly nature added a little something extra to the English traditional pub experience. The current Lion Tavern layout with its ornate features dates back to 1915. But the pub is older than that, when it started trading around 1840. Now, it wasn't long before the locals started to wander in, and we met Alfie.
Alfie, the living Liverpool legend.
We're in Gladstone, yes.
Anyway, our time in Liverpool had come to an end and we had to hightail it back to the ship. Phil was wise to tell me the ship was leaving half an hour earlier than it was, so we ended up being back on the ship with 45 minutes to spare. We thoroughly enjoyed our day self-exploring the city of Liverpool and the waterfront. There's many exhibitions, museums and football stadiums to explore in Liverpool, and you have a few options, which will all result in a wonderful day. Anyway, the sail out of Liverpool is pretty special too. It was interesting to pass some of these wind farms as we headed our way back out to sea. Here's a quick capture of what you can expect to see on a sail away from Liverpool. So if you enjoyed this, give it the old thumbs up and possibly subscribe, and yeah, we'll catch you next time. Hooroo!